Hi, and welcome to Visibility Unlimited and Visibility Spotlight, the video portion of the podcast, Visibility Unlimited. I'm Leslie Short, your host and the owner of the Cavu Group. Today, we are going to speak about the business of theater. I know so many of you love to get dressed. I hope you're still getting dressed and going to the theater and you enjoy what you're seeing. How many of you take a moment to think about the business that has to happen before you see the beauty for what you see on stage? My guest today is Sheldon Epps. He is an acclaimed artistic director for TV, film, theater, and he is an author, and we will speak about his book, My Own Directions, Black Man's Journey in the American Theater. But I think he is the perfect person to have this conversation about what is going on in the business of theater. So Sheldon, welcome.
Hello, good to be with you. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. Your resume, we could be here for an hour, and I don't want to shortchange you, because when I say acclaimed, you are acclaimed. So anyone that doesn't know Sheldon, you need to do your own Google search. You need to start following him. Talk about a man of theater. Can you give us can you give the audience a breath of some of the work that you've been doing?
Oh, well, okay. You hit one of the big things, which was 20 years as artistic director at Pasadena Playhouse. But before that, before I came to that job, I worked extensively at theaters all over the country, also off-Broadway, on-Broadway, on the West End, fortunately in Japan a couple of times, which was exciting. So I've touched a lot of theater bases. And then I say, to support my theater habit, I've also directed a lot of television shows like Frasier and Friends and George Lopez Show, Girlfriends, most recently The Upshaws on Netflix. So I've had a good, busy life.
You are the man to speak about this. So my first conversation is, what does diversity mean to you in theater, I guess, and in TV?
Yeah, that's true. I would agree that we need it in both, and movies, film, and as well. My belief, Leslie, is that art, storytelling art, which is what theater and television is, should reflect our society. That both in terms of the stories that are told and the people that you see telling those stories, the people who are writing those stories and directing those stories, should reflect the people that you've seen in our country for hundreds of years, and what it looks like when you walk around any downtown or urban area right now. And it's pretty rare that you would walk down any street these days, except in certain parts of the country, I suppose, and only see white people. In any even marginally mixed area, you would see people of all colors. And so for me, that's what diversity means, that the art on the stage should reflect who we are as a community, both the community where the theater is, but who we are as a community nationally, and should reflect our history in that way too. It's especially important right now at a time when, certain people are saying, let's not tell any stories about people of color. That is certainly not a rule that is going to apply to the theater anytime soon, and it shouldn't.
The theater has always been the one that has kind of broken barriers. And
yes.
But yet it goes to my next question. What is inclusion in theater? We've seen who's been on stage.
Yes.
But have we gone beyond the stage?
Fortunately, at this point, we have, but for many, many, many years, we had not. And that's sort of the root of the story of my book. I was one of the first, and for certain periods of time, one of the only artistic directors of a major American theater. And there had not been many before me. Fortunately, there are many now since I started and since I stepped down from the position. You'll find many theaters, major theaters across the country, um, that are run by men and women of color. So that has opened up a great deal. Obviously, as you said, you're seeing more faces of color on the stage, on the screen. Um, Fortunately, also more people of color writing the scripts, writing the plays, writing the screenplays, and directing them. But what we need more of is people in those power positions, more people who can green light a movie, a television show is what they call it, give it the approval to go forward. More people owning studios. I mean, Tyler Perry is great, but let's have more than one person owning a studio, let's have more than one person running a major studio. Um, and more people in the senior positions at the networks who finally are the ones who say, okay, this show is a go. That's what we need, more people in those positions.
So that was my next question. What's the equity? What is the access that is given so that there can be ownership, so that there are more people of, and when we say color, I want everyone out there, as you know me, I'm not only speaking Black, I'm speaking people of color. There are stories that need to be told. Indigenous people, Latino people, Asian people, there are stories that need to be told. And people of color, Black and all the way through, need to have their voices at these tables to have authentic stories being
told. Yes, I think you're exactly right. There's no lack of artists who are making those stories, writing those stories, and ready to tell those stories. But unless you're an artist with a lot of money, you need the support of a studio system. You need the support of a network. Right. That's where the funding for projects comes from. So those are the places where we need more people of color, and as you say, of all colors, in those decision-making positions. Now, here's what's helpful. The Wakanda movies, Creed 3 right now, shows on Broadway like The Piano Lesson with Sam Jackson, which at a time when many Broadway shows were not selling well, sold out and was extended. So now that we have projects like that, which clearly prove there is an audience for these stories, bluntly speaking, that there is money to be made by the telling of these stories, I'm hoping that the formula changes and that there's a greater shift in the power position as well as in the storytelling positions.
Because you've seen some celebrities step up and say, we're going to save this show. We have to save this theater. And we can't always be running to save.
Right.
And it was great to see people step up.
Yeah.
That have some clout and say, our stories are important to be here. Our theaters are important to live and to breathe. But there also should be funding for all theater, because I think both of us love theater. But there has to be an eye on what stories are we telling. Like you said, there's an audience beyond love Medea, but have ultimate respect. That opened many doors.
Absolutely. Open doors even for Tyler Perry to tell other stories.
Right. And that's how he had to start his stories.
Yeah, exactly.
So there is an importance to that, but we are more than that. And
yes. Yeah.
The theater and the breadth of theater has always been more than that, yet we haven't been able to control it.
Right. And I think you make a very, very good point. Not everything should be a fire sale or an emergency. Great that happened and great that those people stepped up. But how about stepping up before the fact? How about stepping up and creating a development fund for projects to be developed. How about buying a Broadway theater? That would be great, wouldn't it? It's going to be tough to do that. There's power
Very much
forces
so.
may not allow that so quickly, but wouldn't that be a wonderful thing?
Right.
That a theater was Black owned, a Broadway theater was Black owned and operated, so that all of this wonderful funding that's going into emergency situations, save the show situations, could go into create the show situation.
Absolutely. And I think it's past the time of being able to do that. Like, why has it, and I'm saying this facetiously, why has it taken so long for us to have the conversations about theater? And like everything is maybe in due time, so they say, but we're past time of having this.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit.
Okay.
These conversations, and again, this is something I talk about in the book, is one of the reasons I wrote the book. These conversations have been going on for decades. The conversations are finally louder. The conversations are finally involving people with greater renown and stardom. And the conversations have been more honest and more vocal. In 2020, after the Rodney King situation and the We See You White American Theater, which really was the first big shout about racism in the theater.
You mean George Floyd?
Sorry, George Floyd. Right.
But it started with Rodney as well.
The conversation were happening during the Rodney King situation.
Yes.
Going that far back. But you're right. After George Floyd's murder and the We See You White American Theater movement, there were a lot of conversations. And I was involved in many of them. And I would frequently make the point when people would say, well, how come we didn't know this? I would say, obviously you didn't know it because you haven't been listening. Because I said these very things to you personally 20 years ago, 25 years ago. So the conversations have been going on for a long time. But, and I have to credit this and celebrate this, I think the conversations are now being heard and they're now being acted on. That's the big difference, that changes are happening that address the things that for so long have only been talked about.
Right. So they're out of what I like to say, the silo conversations. It's bigger. Yeah. It has become bigger than just the theater group, the theater folks. Mm. It's now a national issue of going, this is important for us to sing our history, to tell our history, to share our history. Beyond a song and a dance, through spoken word, I don't put that aside. I'm an ex-dancer. I needed every job I could get to dance.
Sure.
But I also want to make sure when we say theater for everyone, it's across the board.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's not only those that are on stage or making the deals. I look at the unions, the stage hands, the lights, the sound. They are the theater.
They are.
In the dark.
Right. No, it's one of the things that I say to student groups, to young people who talk about having careers in the theater or in television, in the entertainment industry. I say, well, of course, great, but not everybody can be a big star. Not everybody can be in the spotlight, but take a look at some of those other positions that go into making the magic of theater. Take a look at producing, take a look at fundraising, take a look at marketing, take a look at artwork. A show can be sold well by great artwork. So I hope that young people will, of course, pursue artistic venues, but also think about other opportunities for work in the theater and for employment in the theater. This is a time when theaters are actually struggling to fill some of those positions. So somebody right now who's interested in ultimately working in the theater, in the craft of the theater, this is a good time for a young person of color to come along and look at some of those support positions that actually do pay very well now, you
And
know.
and you know who else who I love who has opened a new door? I mean, I worked with her way back when in television, but we go back to Wakanda and we go back to Ruth and
Oh, yeah.
costumes.
Yes,
I remember
exactly.
her being one of the few African American women running a
Absolutely.
costume house for television.
Right.
Because I would go out to LA and do it, I would see everyone else, and then I would see Ruth, and
Uh-huh.
and to see where she is now. So I love what you said. For anyone that is young, that is looking to be part of entertainment, theater in the front, in the back, and the side is so important.
Yes. Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
that
I sometimes tell young people, who talk about, being an actor or being an actress and, making a career in the theater or film. I say, you should go watch a movie twice. The first time, just go and watch it and, go watch Angela Bassett's wonderful performance and all of the other actors. But then go back and really watch it and look at all of the other things. Look at Ruth Carter's brilliant costumes. Look at the set. Look at the lighting. Look at the special effects. And look at the credits at the end of the movie. Make
they
yourself sit there and watch that extra 5 minutes that is just the credits and realize how many hundreds of people are involved in making a great movie.
and even for those that are on stage, everyone used to laugh at me because I always made friends with the stagehands and the lighting guys, and because I
Well,
always
you were
knew
just smart.
I, well, thank you. But when I went to Japan and I opened up my theater, I could tell them what I wanted with
Yes.
lights. And I
Yeah.
could tell them how I wanted the sound. I could tell singers what I wanted from them. I could tell how I wanted the floor lead in my theater and the colors. And people, the other dancers was like, well, how do you know this? And I was like, how do you not? We sit here before we can step on stage and listen to all of these things happening.
Right.
Part of
Right.
what we do as part of
Yeah.
our craft, you have to know someone else's craft.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yes, if you have a vision about something, be it a dance, a play, a movie, you have to be able to articulate what your vision is. You
Yes.
know, lots of people will help you to get the vision, but you have to be able to articulate what the vision is. And then, as you just said, be respectful of those craft people who are so brilliant and allow them to aid you, know how to delegate,
Right.
to make the vision, to make the dream happen. You know, it's never more true than in the theater, in the arts, in dance, in movies, that it takes a village. Nobody singly can make these things happen. I don't
No.
know anybody, and I know a lot of really talented people. I don't know anybody who do it all by themselves.
Right. There comes a point where you can only do so much of selling the tickets, turning the lights on, jumping on stage, hitting the music. It doesn't work that way.
That's
But
true.
that leads us to your book. And I'm excited for you to share why you felt this was the right time to write your book. Just share with us what's in the book, your journey.
Well, when I stepped down from my position as artistic director at Pasadena Playhouse, it was really other people who prompted it. People kept saying, "Well, you should write a book. When are you going to write your book?" And I would say, "How, what are you talking about?" But I hadn't really thought about it. Well, if enough people say that, you at least have to start to think about it. And I realized that I did have, number one, a distinctive story to tell, having been one of the few Black leaders of a major American theater. And I had a challenging story to tell, in that everybody assumes if you get to be successful, that it was easy, that, you didn't really have any fights along the way, or you were just lucky.
Of course, it's you. You always luck out.
Exactly. I'm sure you face this.
Yeah. You
And
always
in
work.
ballet, oh, you were just lucky, or of course, you work all the time. You
Exactly.
know, and I'm sure, like me, that in your world you had obstacles and challenges that nobody thought of. So I was, as I say in the Baptist church, I was kind of calling out the fact that it wasn't easy. There were lots of challenges, lots of obstacles, lots of frustrations, lots of anger making moments, great fun, moments of celebration as well, but also lots of moments when it was tough to keep going.
Yeah.
So the book, my
Hold
own
it a little
direction,
higher. Yeah,
higher. How's that? Okay.
perfect.
Uh, and specifically, the title is A Black Man's Journey in the American Theater, because that is quite a specific and quite a different journey. Um, and a journey that, as I said, I felt I needed to talk about because all of those conversations came up as if those conversations had never existed before, and as if racism in the theater had never existed until 2020. And we all know that's not true.
That's not true. Yes. Oh, I love that.
That was the source of it.
What's few things you want people to know? I mean, you said I love the building, the development, but what are some of the other
Yes.
things that people should know that could help build the theater and its inclusiveness and equity beyond the
Well,
diversity?
yeah. An important one is that, people think that show business, all forms, is magic. It should be magical when you watch it in the when you're a viewer, but it doesn't happen through magic. It happens through craft, and it happens through technique and expertise. So I talk a lot in the book about my training. People have to train for all of these jobs, whether that's going to school to study any of those specific areas, or whether it's going and working as an intern at a theater, or there are lots of fellowships, fortunately, around now. But you got to get in there and you got to learn the craft of it. And you've got to learn that it takes patience. You don't get to be an artistic director or a prima ballerina or a movie star overnight. Just as you don't get to be a practicing brain surgeon overnight. I would not want a brain surgeon.
No, nor would I.
Had not gone through internship and residency and all of that before he opened up my brain. So people have to learn the same kind of patience in show business, and know that they have to earn the opportunities that they can have and will have if they put in all of the work that is necessary.
And for those that are holding the pocketbooks at the moment, that are writing those checks, because a lot of CEOs listen to, and leadership listen to my podcast, and I want them to look at theater as an investment as well. What are they investing in?
Well, two things. One we talked about, which is it can be. I'm not going to say it always is, because it's not, but it can be a profitable investment. A Broadway show. I certainly use the most prominent one right now. A Broadway show like Hamilton literally can make millions, if not billions, of dollars in the long run. And those who invested in Hamilton early on will never have to work a day in their lives if they don't want to, because that investment is going to pay off percentage-wise in an astronomical way for them. So first of all, there's that return. The other return is in helping to get these stories told, as we talked about.
Right.
The doors have opened a bit. And we're letting more people of color through to tell the stories, but those people need support, both in terms of regional theaters that need donations and support, and ultimately getting those stories into commercial situations. So you're investing in getting those stories told, You're investing in supporting those artists. And a lot of that money, frankly, has dried up. The amount of money in the federal budget, the National Endowment for the Arts, that
Right.
goes to all of the arts all over the country is a minuscule part of the budget. And state arts budgets have dried up. So theaters in particular, I can speak of theaters, are really in need of donated support because the money has gone down on one side and all of the expenses have gone up. Simple things like labor, fabric for the costumes, manpower, hourly wages, all of that has increased. So that any show you see right now, and COVID costs, by the
Yes.
way, COVID regulations and precautions, which are necessary, any show you see right now is probably going to cost 35 to 50% more than it cost before 2020. So theaters are desperately in need of additional support from individuals and or corporations, corporate support as well.
Absolutely. So I'm going to do a call out to corporations.
Good.
There was a time that I was invited to Broadway shows every other week. That was the thing to do with your clients.
Yes,
And
yes.
so I am going to do that call out if you're listening and you're thinking about how do you bond, where do I take a client, to look at theater as an option, to go to a theater show and have, whether it's drinks and dessert or whatever meal after or before, but to have that as part of your budget.
Yeah.
Best, no matter where you are. It doesn't have to be Broadway. Go to your
No,
local.
Yeah, go to your local theater, sponsor a show,
Yes.
$25,000, $50,000 to sponsor a show, gives you frozen there for a moment.
Yeah, so Sheldon, let's start that so that Tyler can pick up and edit.
Okay. Yes, I sponsor a show at your local theater. A small investment of $25,000 to sponsor a show goes a long way to creating the show. And frequently, what the theater will do for that is to give you a block of tickets to bring your employees, or to bring.
We'll wait and we'll just record that one part over again.
Okay.
Don't know why it's that's a Wi-Fi.
Well, he said he just moved, so maybe.
He'll jump back on.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, sorry.
No worries. We're picking up.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Back now?
Yes.
You're back. Yes.
Okay. So I was saying, when you sponsor a show, a theater will give you a block of tickets, and that's a great way to treat your employees, to bring your employees to see the show, and to bring prospective clients for your business to see the show. And it's a great night out. It's a great way to create goodwill among your staff or among the clients, and a great way to help a theater.
Absolutely. Sheldon, where can people find you? Where can they find your book? What's next for you?
The book is available on Amazon Books, or McFarlandBooks.com is the publisher. I'm on Instagram. It's under my name. And I'll be around either at a theater in your town or hopefully a theater on Broadway. So if you see my name down there at the bottom of the credits, please come see the show and please read the book.
Absolutely. Sheldon, this has been so enlightening. I hope my listeners and those that are watching can take away some new amazing nuggets that you've been able to share with theater, about the theater, about diversity, equity, inclusion within the theater, and about just supporting the theater.
Absolutely. You know, the theater is a valuable reflector of who our society is. So let's make sure that we all keep the theater alive.
Absolutely. And on that note, everyone, as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Support the theater. Go to your HR folks, to the CEO, everyone. It's a new way, which is an old way of helping to not only keep history alive, keep the theaters open, to bring and have great conversation about culture and inclusiveness. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Continue to listen, continue to watch. You know, you can find the video on the Cavu Group's YouTube channel. You can listen to the podcast on all your favorite podcast channels. Thank you so much. Bye now.